at that chemical plant. After the backup generators got swamped, they went to Plan C. The company moved the chemicals they had on site into refrigerated containers, where the refrigeration was powered by diesel engines. But those diesel-powered refrigerated containers, those containers got compromised by the rising water as well. And so now the crisis for Little Crosby, Texas, is not just that it's under chest-deep water. The crisis in Crosby, Texas, includes the fact that at that plant, where they've lost the ability to keep the chemicals refrigerated, they're expecting an explosion now. Because the chemicals they use there to produce liquid organic peroxides, there is a risk of spontaneous chemical reaction simply by virtue of the fact that they're no longer being kept cold. And the chemical reaction here means fire or explosion. And so a 1.5 mile radius around the plant has now been put under mandatory evacuation. That's to prepare for the explosion they are now expecting. Today, the North American CEO of Arkema is a French company, but they've got a North American division. The CEO of that division held a conference call with reporters to answer questions about the situation at the plant. We tried to reach the company today, hoping the CEO could join us tonight to help us explain and understand what's going on there. We left several messages with him, but we never heard back. I'm not complaining, it's understandable. But he did make this public call. Today, the CEO said that Arkema has removed all its staff from that plant and the area around it. He said there is now, quote, no way to prevent a possible explosion there because they can't get back into that plant. They can't do anything to start cooling off those chemicals again until conditions relent. One reporter on this call today, Matt Dempsey of the Houston Chronicle, is a data journalist who works at the Chronicle. He asked what seems like a pretty straightforward question in a crisis like this. I mean, given that, people have been evacuated from 1.5 miles around this plant, given that they've said there's no way that we can prevent an explosion, that they can't keep these chemicals cold, that the inability to keep these chemicals cold will probably result in a chemical reaction. I mean, given that, this reporter asked the Arkema CEO, can you tell us what's inside that chemical plant? What are we dealing with here? Can you give us that Tier 2 report, which until a few years ago used to be something we could get as a matter of public record?
I have the 2015 Tier 2 chemical inventory for your facility. Are you going to provide the most current Tier 2 chemical inventory for the facility to the media?
I don't know that we see the need to do that. I mean, they're all involved with the peroxides that we're discussing.
No, I understand that. There's a lot more detail in the Tier 2 chemical inventories for reporters that could be useful. Just to be clear, though, it sounds like you're not willing to release your current chemical or your Tier 2 chemical inventory to the media.
I mean, we do not see the need at this time to do that.
So they were not releasing that information. We do not see the need at this time. And the state of Texas is not going to hand it over either because they now treat that as confidential information, even when the town's getting evacuated because of it. Also on that call, the CEO of Arkema was told that a professor of chemical engineering at the University of Houston has just said this about the situation with the Arkema plant in Crosby. He said, quote, frankly, this could be worse than the explosion in West Texas. Confronted with that from the University of Houston chemical engineering professor, the CEO of Arkema responded that he, quote, had no indication that the explosion they're expecting at his plant would be bigger than what happened in West Texas. But of course, we don't know because we don't know what's in the plant. They won't say. So, best guess? The reporter who asked about the chemicals in that plant, Matt Dempsey of the Houston Chronicle, he's an expert journalist on these issues in general, and specifically on this stuff in this part of Texas. He's been covering this story very aggressively. He's going to be joining us here in just a moment. But of course, the Arkema chemical plant in Crosby is just one of innumerable consequences from Harvey as its effects continue to unfold across Texas. As the storm moved northeast today toward and into Louisiana, it left towns all along the Texas-Louisiana border underwater. 26 inches of rain fell on Beaumont, Texas in 24 hours. It's one thing to get an inch an hour. It's another thing to get an inch an hour for more than 24 straight hours, right? That city was the scene of rescues by helicopter today. South of Beaumont, the mayor of Port Arthur, Texas, declared our whole city is underwater. The mayor of Port Arthur says the devastation there is like nothing she has ever seen before. People took shelter in the local civic center in Port Arthur last night, but then that shelter also filled up with water.